Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. So in this video I'm going to show you how I sculpted this Oni mask. This one has been cast in resin, but I'll go over the sculpting process in this video, so just keep watching. So first of all, I'm starting off with a aluminium foil core, and I'm actually sculpting this on top of just a piece of perspex, just so I have it on something, because sometimes you can prop things on different surfaces, like portable ones, and that way you can move the object around without touching it. And this also means I don't have to put it on a base for molding it as well, so this will work as the base of the mold box. But you know, you can use anything, foam core, a piece of wood, a cutting board even. It will work perfectly fine. You don't have to use a perspex thing like I am here. So I'm just building up the shape of the Oni mask, and I have sculpted a Hanya mask before. It was a full-sized Hanya mask. I have blanks in my shop if you're interested in that, but I haven't sculpted an Oni mask before, so I decided that I wanted to sculpt like mini masks instead of a full big one, until I've sort of built up that following again for masks. So, and I like mini masks as well, so this would be like a little thing that you can hang on the wall. That's kind of what it's intending to be. And I like miniature masks as well. I've got one myself and I really like it. So I decided to sculpt it. So what I'm using here is called Monsterclay, and Monsterclay is a wax-based clay. It doesn't actually go hard, so it's good for practicing. It's relatively cheap. But you have to mold it and cast it in resin if you wanted to keep your sculpture, because Monsterclay doesn't go hard because it's wax based, so once it gets hot it'll melt. But I prefer to work with Monsterclay over anything else anyway, but you can use polymer clay if you wanted something more permanent, or air dry clay or something like that. Right, so I'm adding the nose here, and I wanted sort of a more foo dog sort of nose for this one, because, I mean, you can go either way with Oni masks. You can go for like a Hanya nose, which is kind of like a hooked nose, or you can go like a foo dog nose. So that's what I decided to go for this one. I wanted to look a bit more doggy, monster-like, so I went for the foo dog nose with this one. And adding the eyeballs in here, so these are obviously not glass eyes, so if you're familiar with Japanese no masks or no masks, they have these sorts of eyes with little hollow circles in them for the eyeballs, so I'm trying to replicate that one here. And at this point it kind of looks like that weird spaghetti monster thing that keeps coming up in my Instagram, which is disgusting. And I just tried to Google it to put a picture in and I can't find it, so yeah, it's probably for the best because that thing's terrifying. I hate it. Anyway, so adding some details around the eyes now, and at this point I spent a lot of time sculpting this sculpture and I really hated it. It wasn't turning out how I wanted it to turn out. So I don't know, I kind of left it for a day and then came back to it to see if I could, you know, change the look of it, because I absolutely hated it. And look, I added the ears here and then it started looking like a goblin or something, so I really wasn't digging the way it was turning out. But you know, you got to be patient when you're sculpting, because sometimes or most of the time when you're sculpting things, it just doesn't turn out how you want it to turn out first off, so it's always good to map out your sculpture first and then start refining it, and just spend a bit of time on it. It's good sort of discipline to learn, and something that I definitely have to learn, and I've learned a lot in doing sculpting and watercolor, especially watercolor, is a little bit of discipline. So yeah, it really goes a long way. Righty, so I've just sort of changed the lower jaw area and also working on the nose area. I wanted to make it a bit more prominent, so I just sort of redid the nostril bit, like the little food dog looking nose, and just built a ridge on it as well, and I'm going to be building that even more in the moment. But I can really start refining the sculpture here as it is. And now I'm going to be working on the under eye area. Apologies for my fat head in the way. But all I really did is add like a sausage underneath the eye area and just building up some cheekbone muscles, which I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. So you can see how it's all coming together once you start refining things. Now, if you're interested in some more tips, head over to my Patreon at Creatures of Nat. I'll have the link in my description box, but I go through all of the sculpting tools that I use on there, so that can't remember if it's up already or it's going up, but there will be a video on there where I go into detail about all of my sculpting tools that I use. So if you're interested in that, it's for my $5 and up tiers. Right, so I just chopped off the ears, or chopped out a bit of, character into the ears because I wanted to be a bit more elf-like, just with a little blade, and then I'll refine it over the time of sculpting. Righty, so at this point I wasn't really happy with the way the eyes turned out, so I just carved the eyes out and then I'll re-add them into a shape that I actually like, and just build up that section a little bit more. So you can see how much it has changed after refining it. Same deal with the ears. Obviously I just tore them off, and I will put on new ears, a little bit lower, a little bit more detail as well. Alrighty, and adding some bit more bulk to the top of the head as well, and then I will add some eyes in. You've seen the process before, so I don't need to show you that. And then I'm adding some brows, so just playing around with some little shapes that I think will work for this head. Right, now moving on to the ears again, just playing around with some different shapes, a little bit more of a pixie ear this time with a point on it, and then I decided to add some earlobes to it as well, just to give it a bit more of an ear look, I guess. Once that's all done, I can start subtracting, carving with my rake tool, just to even out the surfaces a little bit and make them a bit more, symmetrical. And I just use a little it's a little rake tool. I have more info on this tool in my video on my Patreon, so if you're interested, again, you can head over there and have a look at that. So you can see how much it's changed after I've spent a couple of hours just refining some things and making sure I'm happy with the way it looks. And now I can add some little teeth. I don't want to make this overly complicated because I'm going to be casting this and I don't want there to be too many air bubble pockets, area things, trouble spots. So I'm only adding just a couple of teeth to the bottom, like 2 little fangs down the bottom, 2 up the top in the corners, and some little fangs at the front. Nothing too complicated. I spent another couple of hours working on the sculpture after this. It's probably boring to watch me rake it over and over again, but I added some little spines onto the side, a little swirl on the side of the head, and I'm adding some little spines to the brow here. Again, not wanting to make it too overly complicated because of the molding, but I think it really came together after I did this. I worked a lot on the jawline to make sure I'm happy with the shapes and the curves of the actual face. And also the ears I worked on quite a lot, and the mouth area I added a little lip around the mouth using a little snake thing, and just working these little spines in with my little tool, like you can see here. Now I will have the whole mold process on my Patreon probably next week. and that will be for again the $5 and up tiers. So if you're interested in that, do check that out. And also I have a mold making tutorial, just a simple one, available in my shop at creaturesofnat.com. This mask, I have 2 masks that will be going up for grabs next week, along with a sticker set, so the individual stickers, but more on that in that separate video. And if there's enough interest, I'll be offering casts of this, just depending on if I'm happy with the way the casts are turning out or not. I'll do another few test casts and see if I'm happy with it. But yeah, in the meantime, you can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Nat. You can just have a look at my website, Creatures of Nat. My shop is on there if you're interested in anything. I obviously primarily make art dolls, but moving on to different sort of things as well, or including different things. And I kind of wanted to focus a lot more on Japanese styled art. I think that's where I want to go with my direction with my art, is to have a Japanese sort of focus. I'm kind of happy doing that one, I guess. But yes, also thank you very much to my patrons. I really do appreciate you supporting me. It helps me a lot and actually keeps me motivated as well. So thank you very, very much for supporting me. I do appreciate it. Anyway, I think that'll be it for my rambling this time. As you can see, I'm just adding some details to the horns, nothing too special. But yes, keep an eye out next week for some new casts and stickers, and but I will let everybody know. So next week's video will be like the process of making these. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.